Happy holidays and welcome back to First Impressions. This is a show where my co-host Dash Hooper and I evaluate a new album each week with a few simple ground rules. First, it must be an album we've never heard before. Secondly, we're only allowed to play it once. After that, we rate it using a variety of categories. Today is a special bonus episode where we're going to be looking at Fresh Snow at Christmas, the Jethro Tull Christmas album. So, Merry Christmas, Dash. How are you today?
Merry Christmas. I'm perfect. I hope everything is well there in California. Everything's nice here in Oklahoma.
Perfect. That is good to know. All right.
I gotta say again. Perfect intro with the music. You're nailing it on the intro music. Last week's and this one perfectly picked out. Loved it.
Yes, I typed in flute rock Christmas, and that's what I got. So I'm like, all right, that works. And then, of course, what won't get us knocked off on our copywriting. So yes, I'll keep trying. But now it's like, okay, what's next? Well, next week we'll talk about that when we're done. We're not actually going to be looking at an album. We're kind of expanding a little bit. So we'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, we're back with Jethro Tull. Back with our second one. Jethro Tull was the second artist we looked at. So when we talk a little bit about the history of the band, history of the artist, we've talked a little bit. So I tried to find some new facts that would, not just make it so we're rehashing exactly what we talked about the first time. So we're going to take another look at the history of the band. So they were formed in Blackpool, England in 1967, and they're known for their eclectic sound, mix of prog rock, blues, folk, and even touches of classical music. And when you hear their instrumentals, you really hear that especially. I mean, and this album has a lot of the instrumentals on it. So you hear that classic music element in there. And what set them apart as a rock band was, of course, Ian Anderson's flute and his voice. But I mean, there's not many rock bands you can think of that incorporate flute into their every song. I mean, flute is, if you hear flute and an electric guitar, you think immediately of Jethro Tull. So they stand alone in that.
As Lorena calls it, the Yaz flute.
Yeah, my wife calls it "I'm leaving the room." You play that. So she's definitely not on the bandwagon of Jethro Tull. Where I grew up hearing it somewhat, and she's just like, "Oh, that again." Yeah. So yeah, she's out whenever I start playing it. So the band started as a blues rock outfit, and they released their first album in 1968 called This Was. I have not heard that album. I don't know. Have you heard that one, Dash?
I have
more blues album.
I've heard majority of their albums. It was the one that we did not too long ago, and this one right here for sure.
Okay. So these are kind of the missing pieces in your Jethro Tull catalog knowledge. Yeah. So yeah, this one, it says it gives a glimpse of their root, and you can feel something different with them. And that's fully emerged in their second album, Stand Up, which came out in 1969. It shot to the top of the UK charts. And that's also when the guitarist Martin Barry joined the band. And that was their core group for a while. It wasn't until after the album Stormwatch that we looked at, that's when the core band that started in 69, that's when they broke up. So they lasted quite a while, and that's when they started to lose members. One of the members actually passed away, and then other members started to leave, and they're still out there doing things. I mean, they recorded an album in 2022, so they're still recording music. This album that we're looking at today, there's both of us got the remaster version, but it's not the original one.
That's correct.
So their big album that came out in 1979 was Aqualung. That was definitely my first introduction to them when I was a kid. That's the one that my dad would have been playing when I was younger. That's the one that has, the songs from the radio that you would know. And that one was also their biggest selling album, which sold 7 million copies. So then 72, they released Thick as a Brick, which was meant to be kind of a spoof on the concept album, but ended up being, what's known as one of the biggest concept albums out there. It's one song, two sides of the album. You flip it and you continue the one long track. and what he thought was going to be a joke ended up becoming a landmark prog rock album. So the joke was on him. He ended up releasing
one of his greatest albums.
Yeah, one of his greatest albums, one of the greatest, concept and prog rock albums, all meant to be a joke. So I guess in the end it worked out because it was one of their highest selling albums as well. So besides Thick as a Brick. So over the years, they've sold over 60 million albums. So they have been, a huge selling force. I'm sure their greatest sales definitely happened in the 70s when you had Thick as a Brick and you had Aqualung, which were their two biggest selling albums. But they sell well in England because England generally sells very strong for their artists, and they also sell well in the US. In 1989, they won Grammy for Best Hard Rock and Metal Performance, which is something still kind of laughed at today because they beat out Metallica. And I'm sure Metallica kind of gets a laugh about it now that they've won some. But at that point, that was their first time they were ever nominated. And then to get beat out by, a flute rock Jethro Tull, I'm sure that didn't sit well with them.
Probably not. That's funny, though. That's funny to me.
Yeah, I remember when that happened because I knew Metallica. I was rooting for them. And my dad, of course, knew Jethro Tull. And he thought it was so funny that he won because even he knew that's, Jethro Tull's not heavy metal.
Yep.
Maybe Aqualung's the closest they got to being more just a straight metal, but never were they. You wouldn't think of them like you would in the 70s with Black Sabbath. They're not just a straight metal rock band. The flute kind of ruins the chances of them ever being looked at as straight metal, except in the eyes of the Grammys, where they're like, we like this. That's not so grating. Like that Metallica's loud. What's this Jethro Tull? That's the metal we enjoy because it's notoriously voted on by old white men, and they just don't have much to think when they do that. And it's finally changing. But in those days, especially when that would have been happening, it was just an ancient group of people voting for what was supposed to be new and cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're still recording. Like I said, they recorded their most recent album, The Zealot Gene, in 2022. So they're still out there. Lots of turnover. Really, Ian Anderson's the one remaining member that's in there, but they're still out there. They're still recording. I know they're still touring. So yeah, it's amazing to think after all those years that he can still be out there doing his thing. So good for him.
Yeah, do it till you drop.
Yeah, why not? So we're going to be looking specifically today at their Christmas album. So this was initially released on September 30th, 2003, and it's their first holiday album, and it blends traditional holiday themes with this traditional Jethro Tull sound. I mean, you get your folk rock, you get your prog rock, you get your instrumentals that bring in that little bit of classic rock, and of course you get a lot of Ian Anderson's flute. That is, every song it's in there. It's, if you go into a Jethro Tull album and you hate the flute, you're not going to last very long. If you don't like flute rock, it's over. But if you know and appreciate it, and by 2003, anyone who was buying this album, they know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
You know exactly what they're getting into. They're going to get Jethro Tull style Christmas songs. And I guess they also re-recorded some of their older songs and reimagined them for this album, adding some bells and things like that. But that was something I didn't know when I first went into this, is that there's actually some songs that got brought from other earlier albums. I think Ring Out Solstice Bells was an old song that they recorded and brought back for this one, and I didn't know the original. My first encounter with this song was on the album that we listened to. So the critics for this one, the reviews for the album, they were pretty positive overall. It was hard to find reviews, to be honest, because there are a lot of the big rock publications in 2003. They're not going to even cover Jethro Tull.
That's
so
true.
All Music, they said it was a wonderful album. They liked its sound and the seasonal mood and the timely messages that were in there. And they called it distinctly Jethro Tull, which is, what you're going to get. there was a Green Man review that didn't like the album. They thought it was overproduced and lacked Jethro Tull's, the range that you would have found in their earlier work. And they really didn't like the re-recordings, but I don't even know who Green Man Review was before this. It was just, typing in, trying to find reviews. But I think when you get an album like this, honestly, it's kind of critic proof, because the people who are going to buy it, they go in, they know Jethro Tull, they enjoy Jethro Tull, they're buying a Jethro Tull Christmas album, and really any Christmas album is pretty review proof, because the critics could hate it, but if you're a huge fan of Jethro Tull and you just want something different to play at Christmas that's not the same stuff you've heard so many times, kind of like we talked about on our Saturday morning show, songs you want retired from the world, it's something new and you're going to buy it. And in 2003, the fans of Jethro Tull were going to buy it. And if you were a fan already, you're going to enjoy it. So it's what the Green River Review has to say isn't going to dissuade someone from buying it. They're going to be like, well, I was on the fence about buying this one, but after I read that review, I'm not going to get in there. It's like, no, you're going to buy it or you're not. I mean, I know people pretty much buy Christmas albums and they all want to strike that Mariah Carey gold, release the Christmas album that can catapult your career and take you forever. But, I don't think this one was the one that made Ian Anderson, Mariah Carey rich.
No.
Not many people get that luck. So our background about the band, we talked about it before. My background is greater than it was the first time we talked, because the first time we talked, I knew Aqualung, I knew Thick as a Brick, and that was pretty much it. And now, after researching, I know more of his stuff. I've played more of their songs through Spotify, kind of trying to familiarize myself with everything. So I know more about Jethro Tull. I'm certainly not an expert. So if I'm getting any of these facts wrong, these are just the internet research I came up with. Definitely let me know in the comments. And what do you think about Jethro Tull? What is your background? I know you talked about it before, but tell us again, what's your background with Jethro Tull?
Just like I said, my this was one of my brother's favorites, and this is what I grew up on in our home, just listening to Jethro Tull. And when we started this program, it was shocked that I had never heard Stormwatch, and then so that one was the one that we added, and then to come while we're doing research for Stormwatch, come to find out they had a Christmas album neither one of us were aware of. So, I mean, my background, like I love Jethro Tull. I like the flute. I'm probably, as long as you're a Tull fan, you like the flute. So maybe the minority, I don't know, but I like his lyrics. I think he's a fantastic lyricist. I think he's a fantastic producer of music and music smith. And while some songs may be lower and higher, almost all of his music is appealing to me. So that's my background. I love all of it. And I was deployed almost all of the 2000s to 2000 to 2010. I was deployed for the majority of my military career. So I didn't even know this was a thing. So I probably would have bought it back then had I known.
Yeah, it's one I don't think either one of us knew. You mentioned it, and I just jokingly said, "Okay, I got to hear that," and here we are. I have heard it now. I know it. I know it well. So it's funny because I didn't know it existed, and it's something I think my dad would have wanted to hear. Like if he knew it existed, I can imagine him picking that up when it came out, and maybe he did. I can ask him, but I know he kind of got in a point where he wasn't buying as many CDs. But I think if he knew it was out there, it's something he would have picked up.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about our overall thoughts on this album. Yeah, and I found some fun Ian Anderson pictures.
I love that picture.
Festive Ian Anderson, and you can't go wrong with that. I mean, if you're putting out a Christmas album, and these are before the Christmas album, because you can tell that these aren't the 2003 Ian Anderson, but he's always kind of he I guess they had songs that made it to this album later, and that kind of goes in with what we have here. So What are your thoughts on this one? I'll let you go first.
I mean, like it's kind of like you said. First of all, I want this pic. I'm going to find this picture. I'm going to frame this and have this for every Christmas now because I love that picture so much. It's like you said. It's kind of critique proof for the most part. You know, it's Christmas music. You're not really expecting to be like a normal album where you want it to rock the minute you open or hit the put the needle down and listen to the record. I just, you know, overall, I got a lot of, and you guys can beat me up if you want later in the comments, but I got a little TSO from this, a little Trans-Siberian Orchestra feeling on some of the, especially a lot of the instrumentals. And
yeah,
I think it made it a little bit easier for me to enjoy. Not that I don't enjoy Jethro Tull, don't get me wrong, but it gave it a little bit of a familiar flavor as I was listening. And then of course, you know, overall it was a nice listen to, you know, especially for the holidays. And you know, I enjoyed the songs. The instrumentals were fun. I didn't make up lyrics like you did. I just
oh yeah, we'll be talking about that once we get to our discussion of the songs. Yes, I was having way too much fun with this album, and probably not the fun Ian Anderson intended. I don't think he would have enjoyed the moments we were having with this album when I was sitting in there with my oldest and listening to this thing, because by that point my wife had vacated the room. We established earlier she's not a fan, and she didn't know, like, she doesn't even know Aqualung or Thick as a Brick. She knows nothing of Jethro Tull. Learned it the first time that I was sitting in there playing Stormwatch. So to say she's not a fan is a bit of an understatement. She vacates the room. Like most of the stuff I'm listening to, she'll at least sit in and give it a shot with me. And that one, she's like, nope, not again. So yeah, it's funny. She's not the fan. But for me, I appreciate him. I am not a big flute guy, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not something you know, if I hear it, I'm just out. But it's not one of my favorite instruments in rock. And I mean, it's a prerequisite. If you hate the flute, you will hate Jethro Tull. It's simple as that. I don't hate it, so you know, I find songs that I like. But this one, I found it was at some points very loosely a Christmas album. It was almost just more like solstice winter. And it even talked about that in the notes inside the album. And you open the album up, he says, you know, it's more of an album for everyone, for all religions. It's not specifically put into one place. And sometimes the songs I found were a bit too somber and depressing. And we talked about that in our Saturday morning. Like, I don't generally want my Christmas songs to be downers. I don't need to think Christmas sucks and life is sad, because we get enough of that in the real world. You know, just make me happy on my Christmas songs. But what I found was the instrumentals were what worked the best for me. And when we talk about our favorite songs later on, I found that the instrumentals hit the hardest because they felt the most Christmas all the way through. Like what you want from a Christmas song. And, you know, in no insult to him, they're the kind of music I imagine as I'm walking through, you know, a shopping mall, or I'm walking into the grocery store and they're playing the PA and there's Christmas music blasting out. Those songs would fit right in. And that's not trying to say, well, they're terrible. They're just, you know, move them to the grocery store, but they're going to be playing a bunch of Christmas music anyway. And these songs would just work perfectly well blasting out of the PA, because they feel festive and good. Where some of these somber Christmas songs, no one wants to hear that when they're out looking for Christmas gifts. So, you know, it was kind of a little bit like a hit and miss. Some of the songs were a bit too somber for my tastes, and I don't need that in my Christmas songs, but some I thought worked well. So it's a mixed bag album for me, but I find really this goes true for any one artist Christmas album, because my favorite kind of Christmas album is more like the mixtape style, where you get a variety of different artists all performing different songs. That's the Christmas album that I really will go back to multiple times, where it's one artist doing the entire album. It gets overlong. I think any Christmas album, an hour of one artist, they have to do those somber songs because they can't just do upbeat.
Right.
So he needs to get that variety. But to me, I think it's just any Christmas album by one artist becomes an overlong Christmas album. But that's just where I land with Christmas albums. And as always, if you would disagree with me, drop it in the comments. Let me know, because it's not that I'm anti-Christmas album, but I'm just very pro the mixtape, like Very Special Christmas and stuff like that gives you just a lot of different artists where you never get fatigue of one artist at a time. And any one of these songs would have fit well onto one of those albums, but this came out later than any of those albums because those were 80s and early 90s, and this one 2003. Just crazy to think that it came out that late.
I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying as far as the mix albums and things. Like, it has to be like a special artist for me to there's only a couple albums that I actually enjoy where it's a single artist doing a Christmas. But I like the various artist albums that they put out and things like that, because you do get a lot different flavor. I found myself humming along to a lot of the instrumentals, like you said, because I don't think this is a bad album in any way, but I do think the instrumental, if this whole thing would have been instrumental, it would have been a much higher album rated for me. Because and I say that because I think the flute really fit with this music. I think it added that extra flavor with the flute did on this one. But I don't disagree with you. I think that's a pretty good, I think, and probably majority of people might probably agree with you too as well, that it is when you have the various artists, it probably breaks it up a little bit.
And I just think about the 4 discs. Like, could I actually make it through 4 CDs of Jethro Tull Christmas? I mean, there's live tracks, there's different mixes, but in the end, do I really care that they added more sleigh bells to a song enough to play this album 4 times through? I mean, I think this one is one that, if I'm putting together on my Spotify a Christmas playlist, I'll grab a few songs from this. There's definitely songs that would fit in, but I sure as hell don't need four discs of it. I don't need 4 discs of any artist. I don't care if they're my favorite or least favorite. I don't need 4 discs of the same Christmas album from anybody. That's overkill, but it's one of those like super fan cash grab overkills. And
definitely
make that money. What can I say? I don't begrudge you. Someone wants to buy a 4 volume version of issue 1 of my comic book with different shit. I will sell it to you.
Sell it,
Tell me if you want it. Drop it in the comments. Immortal Era special edition, 4 books of the same thing, and I'll read it live for you. Whatever you want, I'm here to sell it. But I mean, what are you going to do? Because people.
Well, now you sold. Now you sold me when you said you're going to read it. You sold me. I might have to buy that now. Go ahead and get it done.
See, I'll read it aloud. There's my live version. I'll give you the non-colored version, and you can get it all. And it's the same kind of thing he's doing. Like, here's the original mix. Here's the new mix. Here's the live version. Here's the other live version. And then here's a DVD of those live versions. It's like, man, I will film myself reading. There's the DVD version. See, I'm ready. I got it. It's going to happen.
Got it nailed.
The 4 book special edition to sell to people. So I'm here for you. So let's talk about our favorite tracks before I go way off the rails and start trying to sell people my comic instead of talk about music here. This is the wrong show.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, like I said, I think the majority of the just the instrumentals were beautiful songs. We Five Kings was real good. Obviously, the God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, always a classic. But the one of the ones that stood out to me as far as non instrumentals was Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow. Now, this is one of those.
I got that one too.
Yeah, this is one of those somber ones, I guess, if you will. but it stood out to me because, obviously Jack Frost brings in winter, and winter's the death of the season, if you will. Spring is life eternal, life anew, and winter ends it all out. And then the hooded crow, I guess, is the messenger. It could be a messenger of I don't want to say death, but it's a messenger of not great tidings, I guess you will. But it stood
harbinger of sorrow.
Harbinger of sorrow. That's the word I'm looking for. Excellent word. But it was a good song, even though it was. And it's like you said, this isn't necessarily a Christmas album. It does celebrate solstice and Yule and all the different seasons, what you may celebrate. So I think that was probably why it stood out to me as well. This is something that you don't normally hear on a holiday album. And so I think it was, I thought it was an excellent song. And then the other one is Ring Out the Solstice Bells.
Yeah, I had that one as well.
Yeah, I just thought they were really good, lyrically written. Again, somber. The two of my favorite tracks are the somber ones, but again, you could go to all the instrumentals and not be disappointed with this album.
Yeah, and that's what he needs to put out, the version that's only the instrumentals, because we've talked about it over and over again. It's a pain to skip on a vinyl album, and there's tracks that I would absolutely skip on this one, where a CD, bundle, if you're going to sell 4 discs, like here's your disc of just instrumentals, and I'm fine. I'm not saying I'm buying that because I got Spotify. I'll just cheat and build a playlist that way. But yeah, I liked Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow, and honestly, I saw the title. I was like, yes, this is it. This is the medieval flute jam Christmas rock that I need in my life. And I was having a good time because I was sitting there. Like I said, my wife had vacated the room, but my oldest child was in there, and we were just having a good time. I'm like, yes, it is about to get epic, and it's going to get fluty, and there's going to be that medieval vibe. And it's kind of, when you hear that song, that's what you would expect from Jethro Tull Christmas. I mean, when you hear it, it rings that way, and it's got that ominous tone to it, but it's the ominous coming of winter. And I enjoyed it, but I have to talk about Holly Harold. This song, this is like, I called it the Leprechaun Pirate Jam.
That is a very good description of it.
And I started hearing this, and all of a sudden, in a pirate voice, I'm making up lyrics to this song the whole way through. Now, I don't remember anything I wrote, but I was having the best time. Oh, man, we were just bobbing along in the living room, doing a Leprechaun Pirate Jam, and it
definitely a sea shanty. Definitely a sea shanty. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm now on a pirate ship. I'm a leprechaun in a pirate ship. And I can't deny the fun I'm having with that song. I mean, if you can't have fun with it, and I figure, all right, you could say the worst songs I don't have fun with. I just start getting angry at how much they annoy me. But if I can have fun and make up pirate lyrics, then, like I said, again, I don't think Ian Anderson would be down to hear, like, yes, I had a great time making up pirate leprechaun lyrics while listening to your song, Holly Harold. It's not what he wrote it for. But hey, he got my $30, so what's he complaining about?
You just gave me a new idea for a book too.
The Leprechaun Pirates. There you go.
The Leprechaun Pirate. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to run away with that one.
Yeah. See, and I took an idea from a podcast that I was on, this Karen podcast, and I'm turning that into a whole book. So there you go. Inspiration comes at the weirdest times.
Yes.
Leprechaun Pirate Jam inspiration. So yeah, I also had the Ring Out the Solstice Bells ones. I thought it seasonally fits, and I didn't know that it was a re-recording of an older song, but it makes sense because that one could be an album track minus the Christmas spells that they added in to make it more Christmas, but it's not a Christmas song necessarily. It's just a solstice song that would fit on any album that he's released. So yeah, I'm with you as well. I enjoyed all the instrumentals. I talked about God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. my notes on that one was flute jam. I feel your groove. So
yeah, I felt it on that. That's why I said it was one of the.
I was there.
It was one of the. Yeah, it was a pretty good one.
And then Pavane, I wrote that one.
Yeah,
and this actually came from my child. They said that's perfect background music for a D&D campaign during the holidays. I'm like,
yes,
I can hear that. Yeah,
yeah.
Play some D&D, throw that one on in the background, and you are set. So
they have a lot of Yule campaigns, Yuletide campaigns where you can throw that on there. And I love this cover because it's. Again, we talked about it last week. I'm just waiting for Jacob Marley and the Three Ghosts of Christmas to pop out of the clouds here and take this cover over.
Where's the crow on the branch? We need the hooded crow hanging on the branch, or coming out of the door. So it's definitely got that somber Christmas vibe, which a lot of the tracks definitely hit with that. So. Yeah. What were your standout lyrics on this one?
Again, I'm going to go back to, let me pull up my notes. Yeah, pull up my notes. Like I said, I liked the Hooded Crow, Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow. And I mean, just as you start out through the long December nights, we talk in words of rain or snow, while you, through chattering teeth, reply and curse us as you go. I mean, so you're already getting the vibe that Jack Frost is coming, that the season is changing. Why not spare a thought this day for those who have no flame to warm the homes at Christmas time? Say Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow. So even though it's somber, I think there's still,
it's got enough positivity hiding in there. Where unlike when we get to my skips, there's one. I tell you, like when I actively dislike a song that makes me angry, that one got me there. I was yelling at that song, like hurry up. So Jack, I had lyrics of Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow as well. I said, through the ice and snow, soft and warm against the storm, your smile is welcome, which brings that slight optimism into an overall somber song. But I don't know, it just. For me, it felt like what you would expect if Jethro Tull's putting a Christmas album out. That's kind of the song that hits all the right marks.
Yep.
Well, like I said, I don't want to spoil, but there's one that definitely did not hit all the right marks. And the one, A Christmas Song, I like where he said the Christmas spirit is not what you drink. Yeah, I would talk about that in some of my later notes. And then one of the other ones I wrote was got a birthday card at Christmas. And I completely tuned out the rest of the song because as someone who has a birthday right by Christmas, I get a lot of birthday cards on Christmas. So I'm like, and sometimes they're late and sometimes they're double cards where like, here's your Christmas card / happy birthday. So yes, I'm like, I can relate. It's not what he wanted me to relate to. Again, I'm misinterpreting. Leprechaun pirates, not what he was going for. Or maybe he was. Maybe he's like, what? You actually nailed it. You're the first one who got it right. Not afraid to say it's a leprechaun pirate jam on the sea. I mean, but for this one, it's just December 22nd birthday. This one, always get a Christmas card at birthday. Sometimes you don't even get a birthday card. You get the Christmas card. And then later on, they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, happy birthday. So I never got past the first lyric, quite honestly, because I know then it turns into a proper Christmas song. But I guess I ignored that part. So sorry.
It could do that.
Wrong. Again, my apologies to Ian Anderson for misinterpreting your songs. If I am.
Yeah. And my other standout one was, like I said, the Solstice song. I just you nailed it. It's very medieval, very. But I just joined together, 'neath the mistletoe, by the holly oak where on it grows. 7 druids dancing the 7th time, sing the song, the bells call, loudly chiming. It's not like they're not like lyrics that hit you, but you're just like you know what he's singing about. You feel it. You know this is you want that medieval, and that's what you expect from like you said, that's what you expect from Jethro Tull is the old England, the old, we get it through almost every album we listen to.
Yeah.
Is old English, and I just thought, man, that's a cool way. It's not your normal holiday song. So I just thought, man, only Jethro Tull could get away with singing about druids, and it be mean something. I don't know. I'm not. There might be songs out there to sing about druids. I just may have missed them, but I just thought it was I thought it was well done. I like the lyrics of that. I like the entire song. The lyrics. I like the old, the medieval feeling to it, and so this is great. It was a good song.
Yeah, I think honestly the what I'm looking for from a Jethro Tull Christmas album is that medieval vibe. I mean, I want it to feel like it's the countryside in England, and we're chilling in the castle and listening to this one, or relaxing in the pirate ship and listening to this one. So yeah, I mean it's kind of when he hits the modern vibe, I think that's when this one fails the most. Yeah. So here's my direct transition to the skip this one. And the one that I chose to skip, my first one to skip, was definitely The First Snow on Brooklyn.
I knew it.
It feels modern.
Yeah.
And it meanders like crazy. And he's just telling us every detail of, the yellow cab and the JFK. And that's not what I want from my medieval flute rock god. I don't want this.
That's the one I toned out. I just tuned it out. I listened to it, but I didn't listen to it, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
My note was this. My note was this sounds like a shitty open mic kid at a coffee shop. Ian Anderson, we expect better from you. So it just felt like open mic night at the coffee shop, and I'm on the JFK and I'm getting some coffee. I'm like, oh, enough, man. We know you're sad. You don't have your girl, but get on with it. Meanders and meanders.
Yeah, I just didn't want. Somber's fine, like I said, with Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow, or with the Solstice, but that was too somber and too depressing.
Yeah, that was definitely the low of the album for me, and it was one of those ones where I'm listening to it, I'm just like, it's bad lyrics, it's just the message. I know, okay, he's missing he wants to see her, but you got to tell us every detail of your trip. Did you stop and use the bathroom along the way?
Right.
Tell us about that. Right. I just don't want to know. So yeah, that one was a slog of a song. So that one definitely the most skippable of all the tracks. But I also put Last Man at the Party. I think my reasoning for this one is just my history of being at parties where everyone's wasted and having such a good time and blah, blah, blah. And just like, I don't want to hear drunken shenanigans in my Christmas music. I'm out, Mr. Anderson. I'm passing on this one.
Yep, those were the two I had as well. They just I was all right with Last Man at the Party, but it was just not. Again, it's not Jethro Tull. It's not Ian. It just didn't fit. Those two just didn't. And I don't know if it was the producers or what. Saying you got to have some modern stuff in here, and it just they stand out as like sore thumbs on the album.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys follow along with me, it's just it doesn't fit. Like you have. We know what Green Day is going to play the entire album. If they started being positive about something, I'd be like, somebody told Green Day to not write something positive, or to write something positive and things, or Rage Against the Machine, if you will.
Yeah.
If Rage is not raging, something's wrong. So
if they write a meandering love song, I'm out. So.
So this one didn't. Those two just didn't. They just stood out like sore thumbs. Like they don't fit. They don't. You didn't even have to have them on there, I don't think, and it would still be a great album.
I'd say the album would be much better without them on there, because it's those two, especially the First Snow one. That song, where the other one, it just kind of hit too much, where it's like, okay, I'm recalling drunken Christmas parties, and they were never the top of my fun list. But the other one, yeah, just wow. First Snow on Brooklyn is just, it's just a bad song from any artist. I don't care who wrote it. I would skip that song because lyrically, like I said, it's very coffee shop. It's very open mic night. It's just, it doesn't fit the tone that he was trying to create with this album. And it's one of those, yeah, like I said, must have been the producers. Like, we need at least one thing to let us know that we're not in, you know, the medieval countryside of England, but really let us be in the medieval countryside of England. I know what I know what I'm in for when I buy a Jethro Tull Christmas album. And yes, those two songs, I will go if I decide to play this one again, I will make the effort to skip even on vinyl, even if it's tick, 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 because I don't want to hear one note of those songs again. Especially, I think the first, you know, I gotta remember the name. Sorry, the Last Man at the Party. I'm not as violently like angry at that song. Whereas First Snow on Brooklyn, I will do every effort to not hear that song again because it's just, it's the worst Jethro Tull song I've heard. I mean, granted, you know a lot more than I do about Jethro Tull's catalog, but that is the bottom of the bottom for me.
Yeah, it would probably be, if I had to rank, it would probably be the very last on Jethro Tull's catalog. It just,
so there you go. It's just, it's not just me. It's that we both agree on this is saying something, because you're always a lot nicer than I am about, especially when you have the nostalgia for things. But I think that we agree, that's saying something. Like, all right, that one just needed to be omitted from the album, and everyone would have benefited.
Yeah, it needs to be erased. This is that one when we did our Christmas show a couple of weeks ago. This is that one that would be deleted forever from any. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So in 2 weeks, we found two that we want to remove from being played again. So we have our
Gordon Lightfoot's
sad Christmas song and Jethro Tull's meandering New York Christmas song. Both, yes. Where next year when we revisit on our Saturday morning show, getting rid of songs, those two, they've made the list. Yeah, that whoever thinks Christmas Shoes is too depressing, you haven't heard these ones.
You haven't heard.
We got your awful Christmas right here.
Yeah.
So now let's decide: is this album naughty or nice? Are we keeping this one on the naughty list, or are we putting this one on the nice list? So what do you think?
I'm keeping it on the nice list because if there had been a few more skippable tracks, it would definitely go into the naughty. I can, you got 15, 16 songs on two albums, and so you have 14 really good songs that you can go to, and two that are. So I will say with that, I will keep it on the nice list because again, you can. If you're listening to it on vinyl, you can move that. You can move it. When it's coming up, and if you're on a CD, you can hit skip. So Plus, again, the instrumentals. If you're a creator, or like your daughter said, playing D&D or tabletop games, these instrumentals are perfect for a one shot of a Christmas or a Yuletide game. And if you're writing a Christmas story on your laptop, these are great
there you go.
instrumentals. These are great instrumentals to put you in the mood to write. So I'll keep it on the nice list this time.
Yeah, the instrumentals deserve to be played in the public. We should be hearing these over the PAs. The fact that we're not, it's like, come on, grocery stores, you're playing the same songs over and over again. Let's have a chance with these ones because they deserve that play. So for me, I'm gonna put it on the nice list as well. First Snow on Brooklyn, you're getting all the coal. That song is on the naughty list, the naughtiest of lists. We're removing you from ever being played again list. But the rest of the album, it is what it's supposed to be. I mean, and any Christmas album by one artist becomes a bit too much for me. That's just my feeling. But does this album work with what it's supposed to be? And it absolutely does. It is a perfect Christmas album for a Jethro Tull fan. You kind of get everything that you would want from a Jethro Tull album with Christmas songs, with more solstice-y, the countryside of England feel and vibe, and it works for what it is. And I mean, if I put it on the naughty list, it would just be because I have a disliking for Jethro Tull. But if you are a fan of Jethro Tull, you're going to enjoy this album. I mean,
I think so too.
It will hit the mark for you. You might have a few skippers that are in that batch, but I think overall you'll find yourself getting exactly what you wanted. So, go ahead, and if you haven't bought it, Amazon has it. You can, if you dare, you can get the 4-disc special edition. I don't, that goes on the naughty list because that's just overkill.
That's just overkill. Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed. I mean, but I have, for me, because I have such a nostalgic connection to Jethro. Plus, I've listened to a lot of other albums.
Mm-hmm.
I love the flute. I think the flute fits him. If one day he put out an album and there's no flute, it's not Jethro Tull. It's somebody that's taken. Oh, yeah. And I think, I mean, you can. I like, because I live in Oklahoma, you'll get a lot of Native American and indigenous albums around here, and they use the flute all the time. So I think for me it fits. It's not like it's not like it's out of the ordinary to hear it, but give the flute. I mean, again, in the instrumentals, you're right. I think it definitely brings up the music. You might think it's somber, but that flute comes in and gives you some good vibes, and it tells a story. And then it tells a story with the flute. As every instrumental does. There's always a story with the music and the way they play it, the tempo. But that flute, I think, just really tells the story. That's the lyrics. That's the lyrics of the song is the flute.
And that's his signature. So honestly, like you said, Jethro Tull without the flute, that would be the outrage to his fans. If he decided like, hey, my next album, I'm going to, redeem myself for robbing Metallica that year, and I'm going to release a proper metal album with no flute, then it's not only Metallica fans that are going to hate him, he'll piss off his own fans.
He will. Yeah.
So Ian Anderson and flute, they have to go together. Jethro Tull needs to have the flute, and this album, I'd say it's, it works 80% of the time for what you're expecting. You get what you paid for, and no surprises. You get a couple mediocre tracks, but we're also talking, this is a late career release, and for a band that's been around this long to release something even functionally listenable is a victory, because so many artists that have been around as long as he has, they're just they're releasing terrible albums. Now, I have not listened to his 2022 album. I don't think I dare listen to that, because late career stuff is always kind of a lesser material, but this one still works. So if you're a fan, definitely pick this one up, or stream it on Spotify, however you listen to music. And if you're a fan, you won't be disappointed, not even a little.
Yep, agreed. Wow. Just enjoy it. It's good if you're decorating the tree or decorating your home and just have nice music in the background. So if you're baking, you throw those instrumentals on, and they work just right. So besides for my wife, she's like, no, not playing that. But I would, I could see myself playing the instrumentals at least. And it does what it's supposed to do. And that's all you can really ask of a Christmas album. For me, absolutely. I think this might be one of the few Christmas albums I own that's a one artist Christmas album. So I mean, but it does what it's supposed to. The critics that hated it back in the day, calling it over polished and things like that, maybe. I mean, there's always those sellout people that, you're doing it wrong. We talked about it with Blue Oyster Cult. And I like the old stuff, and I don't want to hear that new stuff. So, they want it to be Aqualung. And in the last album, I was talking about how I wanted the angry Ian Anderson, not on a Christmas album. I don't need angry Ian Anderson for this one. I don't want, like when he was talking about the crumbling environment and all the things that are, watching our world fall apart. I want that sneer. I want that pissed off Ian Anderson, where not on Christmas. Right now, the level we get of him for the Christmas album is just right. Yep, I agree. 100%.
All right. So next week, another pre-recorded show, because next week will be New Year's Eve, I believe. So we're going to be doing not an album next week, but we're going to be talking about our favorite albums that came out in 2024. So best albums of the year, best tracks of the year. We might be revisiting a few of the albums that we've talked about on this show. So definitely tune in next week, same time, Wednesday at 9 Eastern, and it'll be dropping on YouTube, and then the link will be on Facebook. If you've been watching us on Facebook, you can follow the link there and check out our show next week. And until then, Merry Christmas and have a great holiday season.
Merry Christmas, guys.